But this is the time for people with disabled businesses to shine and make as much money as you can because I really believe that the current system that we're under is going to snap even more, and it won't. Food stamps will eventually not be the only thing that will be going away. I truly believe that Social Security is not far behind. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on this Tuesday. This is the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I'm your host, Nicolas Comstock. You guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I love each and every one of you, and I love coming to get and do this podcast every week, and we just always have such amazing guests, or I have a monologue such as I do this week. And I just thank you so much for joining me. But before we get in to today's show, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. You guys, the holidays are coming up, and I can't think of a better way to celebrate the holidays and to alleviate the stress of the holidays than to go to Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio and get a massage and just relax and let the stress of the holidays melt away. Because you know that stress is coming. You've got to make all the food for your friends and family that are coming. You've got to buy the gifts for the people that are impossible to buy for, and that just makes your back going nuts and your stomach going nuts, and you don't want to eat and you're nauseous because of all these things. Don't let that happen to you this year. Stop by Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio in Columbus, Ohio. And when the Nick Speaks listeners and viewers stop by the Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio, they have said we will give the Nick Speaks listeners and viewers 20% off their visit when they use the code Speak Up when you register online. So take the opportunity, let that holiday stress melt away by going and getting a massage from Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. And don't forget to use the code Speak Up when you're at checkout for 20% off your visit. All right, you guys. As of this recording, we are in day 37 of the longest government shutdown in history. And I usually don't talk much about politics on my podcast, which there may be a little bit of a shift coming because when it comes to things that people with disabilities need, there are all kinds of politics involved, and Medicaid has nothing but politics. These government agencies have rules and regulations that they have to follow, and because they're run by the government, whether it's state or local government, there's all kinds of politics involved. So you may see a little bit of shift in the Nick Speaks podcast. I want to talk about the government shutdown today because, as I've said, as of this recording, we're in day 37. By the time this airs, if the government shutdown continues, it will be over day 40 for the government shutdown. It will be over day 40 by the time this airs. And so I really have to talk to my disabled friends, especially if you are an entrepreneurial where you've been wanting to start a business, but there's all kinds of red tape for you, and you're worried about losing your benefits. I'm here to tell you, start that business and don't worry about losing your benefits. Why? Because you're already losing one in SNAP because of this crazy government shutdown. I mean, to be honest with you guys, me losing my SNAP benefits wasn't a big deal because I only received $70 in SNAP benefits. In fact, just before the government shutdown happened, I got a letter that says, Nick, we've increased your SNAP benefits from $63 to $70. Oh, I'm so happy. $70 a month, you can't buy a week's worth of food for $70 a month. That's not even going to last me a month, to be honest. It's going to pay for what? Maybe one meal, two and a half if I'm real frugal. So when the SNAP benefits went away, I wasn't really shedding any tears because I spend way more than $70 a month on food. But what I am worried about is, I've always said that, disabled people live on a shoestring budget. And I personally believe that the shoestring has begun to snap. And I want to say to you, if you're disabled out there and you're wanting to start a business and make your own money, now's the time to start it because this inclusive government who cares about the disabled and the most vulnerable people are showing their true colors. And yes, I believe it's on one side. I really do believe it's on one side. It's the Democrats. Because if you look at the last 4 years of history when Joe Biden was in office, there were 24 short term resolutions granted to keep the government open when Joe Biden was in office. Now, whether he signed it or the alleged auto pen signed it, there were still 24 short term resolutions to keep the government open when Joe Biden was in office. Now, Trump is in office, and Chuck Schumer and the loony left are saying, nope, we're not keeping the government open. And if we have to use the most vulnerable population to shut down the government, we will. They don't care about you. Disabled people, hear me. Because for years, it's always been, Nick, you're so wrong. You're voting against your best interest. The Democrats are the ones that really care. Really? Well, the Democrats are the ones that have always come out and said that the Social Security are the one that the Republicans are the ones that are going to take away your benefits. But you've never heard that said. Rarely have you heard that said about the Democrats. But guess what? Now the Democrats are the ones that are actually taking away your SNAP, not the Republicans. And they don't care. And you know what their reasoning is? Allegedly, the reporting is the government still wants to continue funding illegal immigrants' healthcare. They want to take all the pork that President Trump has cut out within the last year and put it back in. And President Trump and the Republicans have said, no deal. And there's also been clean resolutions for SNAP benefits. And the Democrats have voted no. There's only been 3 Democrats that have voted against their party. One I can only remember right now is John Fetterman. John Fetterman has come out and chosen country over party. But these people like Chuck Schumer on the loony left are choosing party over country. Really, they're not even choosing party over country. You know what it is? They're choosing power over country because they've been drunk with power for so long. that they're going to do whatever they can to keep it. And they think it's going to help them in 2026, but it's not. I believe it's strongly going to hurt them in 2026. And Mondani, this Democratic socialist in New York's going to find out what socialism is because that is what his agenda is. And come 2026, I believe there's going to be more registered Republicans in New York. Well, I don't know. By the time 26 gets here and it gets to vote, time to vote again by 2028, New York may be near empty. Who knows? But what I want to say to my disabled friends and family members who take care of disabled, you need to stop relying on the government. They do not care about you, and the shoestring has begun to snap. And this is why I'm working so hard to get off the government assistance because I've known for a long time that the government doesn't care for me. I mean, I'm trying to get an automatic portable Hoyer lift so that I can go on trips and go on my speaking engagements and go to doctor's offices. And right now, no one from a DME provider will order those because they say the reimbursement from Medicaid is too low. So I can't get a um an electric portable Hoyer lift because no one is willing to order it. Now, I'll keep you updated on that because I am working hard on that. But what I want to say is that disabled people, this is our time to shine. This is our time to tell big bloated government that we don't need them. We've got this. We can take care of ourselves. I've always wondered why so many disabled people in my community are so interested in keeping the shoestring when the shoestring that we're on isn't enough to begin with. I mean, I make $788 and $199 from my mother's retirement. 30% of that income goes to my rent. So why are you asking more from the government when they give you more? Okay, they might give you more, but they're going to give you more control. They tell you that you can't have anything over $2,000 in any assets because you will run the risk of losing your Medicaid and your Medicare and your waiver services if you have anything over $2,000 in your assets. Now, yes, it would take a while, and probably if they notice that you have anything over $2,000 in your assets, they'll probably call you and tell you you need to go on a spin down plan or give you a letter that says, "Hey, we notice you have this much money and you're starting to get over your benefit amount. You need to go on a spin down program." So I don't believe that if you immediately have over $2,000 in your bank account, that they're going to take your benefits away. They'll first tell you you need to go on a spin down program. At least that's what I've been told from other friends that have gotten, calls and letters like that. They tell you first you need to go on a spin down program. Which is basically, hey, go on a shopping spree, spend your money, and who doesn't like a good shopping spree if you have the money to spend it? I do. But this is the time for people with disabled businesses to shine. and make as much money as you can, because I really believe that the current system that we're under is going to snap even more, and it won't. Food stamps will eventually not be the only thing that will be going away. I truly believe that Social Security is not far behind. Now, does that mean that it's going to go away within the next year? No. Do I have any idea when or if Social Security will go away? No. But I guarantee you that nobody ever thought that food stamps would go away, and here we are. So, what I am telling the disabled community this week is pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Don't be afraid to start that business. And don't be afraid to make extra money outside of your Social Security. Because if things keep going the way they are, you're going to need it. And as far as the government is concerned, there's no point in telling them to get their act together because they're never going to. It's up to the American people to get their act together and come up with other solutions where the dependence on the government isn't needed. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Disabled people, like I've said, it's your time to shine, and we can do this. We don't need big brother government helping us. We need to help ourselves. And if we put our minds to it, we can. And if you say, well, Nick, my relative with a disability doesn't have the brain power to do that. Well, you do. Do whatever you can to develop a trust, do whatever you can to get them some extra money coming in, do whatever you can to make sure that your disabled relatives are taken care of outside of the government's help, because the government is not here to help you. They are there to enrich their own pockets and go on with their own agendas. And yes, this is the Democrats' problem, because one of the largest left leaning unions has come out and said, Democrats, please sign out on a deal because this needs to happen. Four of the major airlines have come out and said, Democrats, we need you to sign a resolution because now we're having problems with our air traffic controllers not getting paid. In fact, starting very soon, they're reducing flight capacity by 10% because of the shortage of air traffic controls. And you know why there's shortage? Because they're not being paid. Let's be honest. If you were working at a job and they said, we're not going to pay you this week because we're out of money, but just still continue to work for it because we're going to get back to you in about 4 to 6 weeks and we're going to pay everybody back pay. Would you continue to work at that job? Probably not. My best guess would say most of you would either, here's a bright idea, go sign up on public assistance if your job said that, and say, I can make more money at home. Well, the problem is now public assistance is failing because the people who provide it have shut it down. So the Democrats need to get their act together in Congress. But as I've said, there's no point in really shoving that point down their throat because several people, even from their own party, have come out and said that this needs to happen. And we still have people like Chuck Schumer who are whining and crying and saying, if I don't get what I want, we're not doing this. So there you go. That is why your government shutdown is happening. Is because the Democrats who have lied to the disabled for so long and who have said, we care about you, are showing you their true colors. And it's time for the disabled community to stand up and take care of ourselves. Because who's to say that the next agency to shut down won't be Social Security? What if they come out within the next couple months, God forbid if this continues, and say, guess what? We can't afford to pay Social Security payments. You need to have a backup plan in place, disabled people. I beg you, start that business. Start asking for more hours at your job if you're one of the 22% that are lucky enough to have one in the disabled community. And start asking for more hours. Don't worry about your benefits going away because, like I said, you already lost one, and your friends, the Democrats, don't care. So do what you need to do. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And if you're in a wheelchair like me, turn up the speed and start working really, really hard in that business venture because that's what I've started to do. So I hope this doesn't scare a lot of disabled people. I hope this gives disabled people a lot of ammunition um, to pick yourself up and stop relying on the government because the government doesn't care about us and they will never start. So I hope this gives you a lot of ammunition to start your own business. That being said, I want to mention before I sign off today, and I know it's a very short podcast, but I want to mention before I sign off today that I have a GoFundMe that is for my van, but it is also um, help me continue to bring this podcast to you. So if you can go in my link tree and get GoFundMe and donate $5 or $10, I would appreciate it so that I can keep this podcast coming to you weekly so that we can continue to talk about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. Also, I just got off, you guys just heard my that came out wrong saying that I just got off. No, I didn't. Um I just you guys just heard an amazing podcast last week from my speaking engagement via Quest, and I am so grateful to Tony Britt and the folks over there for having me. What I want to say is that if you are a home health care agency, or if you're an organization that works with people with disabilities, or if you don't have anything to do with disability at all and you just like to hear my opinion on things and you want to hear me speak, email me at nickspeaksofficial@gmail.com and let's talk about pricing. Let's talk about how I can get to your event. Also, use that same email, nickspeaksofficial@gmail.com, if you want to be a guest on my podcast. And I invite anyone from Congress on this podcast to talk about what are they doing to take care of our disabled individuals because we're already losing one benefit, which is our food stamp benefit. And I told you at the beginning of this podcast, $70 wasn't that much of a big loss to me, but it still would be nice to have because once the remaining money that I do have goes away on that card, then I won't have it at all. And I will have to completely rely on my Social Security. So, um, Congress just needs to, not Congress as a whole. Chuck Schumer just needs to get his head out of his ass and stop being a baby and pass the continuing resolution. So, um, I highly doubt that Chuck Schumer will get his head out of his ass. It's probably shoved so far up there, it's stuck. Um, so anyway, but listen, if you guys want to come be on my podcast, especially if you're a part of disability services anyway, or you're a self advocate who works with people with disabilities, email me at nickspeaksofficial@gmail.com. You can also use that email to come and invite me to speak somewhere. So please do that. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast today. This is the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community where we speak up, speak out, and speak aloud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I'm your host, Nick Comstock. I will see you next week. Bye bye.